march unapologetically politically. We know that it is no use for us to get our rights, to get our basic dignities met, if it's done on the necks of the oppressed around us. We will fight hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, because we know that it is a lie if we are to get anything without each other, because our only future is one that we will make together. Not the church, not the state.
We alone decide our fate.
Not the church, not the state.
We alone decide our fate.
Not the church, not the state.
We alone decide our fate.
Not the church, not the state.
We alone decide our fate.
Death, death to the NGS.
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 Yeah! Are our speakers ready? I'm looking for Katrina in the from Red Umbrella Erin. Make your way to the front. I am so sweaty. Thank you. While we wait on Katrina to come to the front, I'd like us to do one last shout. A shout that will ring off every wall. Oh, over here, if you want to come around to this side. A shout that will scream into this city, the city that we know. We will push back against discerning voices that think that we don't belong here. We must scream and make that noise to show that we aren't going anywhere. 3, 2, 1! Yeah! These are gorgeous! I need you to keep pushing forward. There are still fuckers coming. Please keep moving forward. Is Katrina ready to go? Our first speaker. Are we all going to be kind and good? Yes. Our first speaker is speaking on behalf of Red Umbrella Erin. Give it up for Katrina.
Hi everyone, I'm Katrina from Red Umbrella Erin. I want to thank you for having us at Trans Intersex Pride. It feels so important to be here as trans people and as sex workers, as both and either and everything we are. Red Umbrella Erin is a grassroots collective of former and current sex workers as well as supporters fighting for the decriminalisation of sex work. We started in 2023 to organise sex worker community events as a way of creating something positive. And we grew from there because we wanted to take the community and momentum and joy we built for real, concrete change in sex worker rights, rather than being just on the defences against the state. Every time the government brought in more draconian measures against us sex workers. We want to fight for something positive, something that will make all of us safer and with better access to the resources like housing and healthcare that we need to survive. This is what the decriminalisation abolition of sex work would mean in Ireland. Decrim, as we call it for short, will make every sex worker, including and especially queer and trans sex workers, more able to work safely and without fear here in Ireland. Trans sex workers are a huge part of the sex worker community and face an incredible amount of stigma, lack of access to care, and danger that comes with an industry not protected by basic workers' rights. In 2017, the Nordic model, the current partially criminalised lead model we have in Ireland, was introduced in the South. The first group of sex workers who were targeted and harmed by clients after this legislation began were trans migrant women. When there was a spate of attacks, the law did not protect them. When they went to the Gardaí about it, they were evicted from their apartment because under these laws focused on making the purchase of sex work illegal, anti-brothel policies prevent sex workers from working together, even though that's how we keep each other safe. So these sex workers lost both their homes and workplaces. We have seen a 92% increase in violent crime against sex workers since the Nordic model was introduced. This is why we need Decrim, so we can work safely. And when we mean Decrim, we mean that just a step towards full liberation. Because our Decrim bill and our Decrim campaign is more than just a campaign for decriminalisation, it's a campaign for rights. Rights to housing, to migration, to safety, to healthcare, including gender-affirming healthcare. We want those rights for every worker and every person. And a key part of accessing rights is not being criminalised just for existing. I want to end this speech on a positive note. We're seeing the tide is changing for sex workers here in Ireland. People are now seeing the harms of the Nordic model on the island of Ireland. Some trade unions of North have taken this position to support the decriminalisation of sex workers over the past years. And now United Ireland supports decriminalisation too. Red Umbrella Erin are currently working with Ruth Carpenter to introduce a bill for the decriminalisation of sex work in the South. And I want to announce one last thing. As part of this year's Dublin Fringe Festival, on Friday the 11th of September, we'll be hosting another edition of our host show. We'll be doing a stripper bingo, lots of performances, catwalk, and most exciting of all, a very hot and steamy lesson how we're going to get to decriminalise sex work in Ireland together. I'll be handing out flyers, but there's tickets already available. Our last social sold out fast, so please join us in DV8 on Friday the 11th September. And then finally, because I really want to get this energy going, I want you to all join me in a chant. When I say Decrim, you say now. Decrim!
Now!
Decrim!
Now!
Decrim!
Now!
Yes! Thank you!
Amazing. Give it up for Katrina! And next up, we are going to have the amazing people from Transgress the NGS. No, I'm sorry, I'm a liar. I love to lie, just here for all listening. From Trans Healthcare Action, we have the wonderful Moore. Give it up!
The government has long ignored our community. They hold up a paper shield of a new model of care while we face an 18-year waitlist that the NGS tried to close. Our bodies and lives are our own, not the playthings of clinicians who treat us as poor unfortunates, who deny us autonomy, who do not support us and never will. We need to demand better from the HSE and those in Leinster House who claim to care but pay lip service and don't act. There is a desperate need for change and for more models of trans healthcare to be explored. The needs and concerns of trans people have long been ignored, which is why the informed consent model based on co-production is the future of gender-affirming care in Ireland. Since we can't rely on the current system, we need to support each other. We need to build networks of care that don't rely on the whims and dictates of politicians and the HSE. We need to practice radical solidarity and community self-reliance. We are the ones who know our struggles, our needs, and who care enough to see them met. Being radical is loving unconditionally. It is building systems that care for us when others won't. We cared for our own sick and dying during the HIV/AIDS crisis when clinicians wouldn't. Being radical is finding a path forward together when things seem hopeless. That's why we launched Kindred, a trans health service that provides care that is free, safe, local and gender affirming. Our first, but far from last, pilot clinic opened this April in Cork. Kindred has been created through co-production between the trans community and clinicians who support us. This approach values the lived experiences, perspectives and expertise of the people leading, of the expertise of trans people, leading to the design of more inclusive, effective and person-centred care. This is nothing new. We built Kindred based on what has worked before. Callan Lord in the United States, Prick to Tangerine Clinic in Thailand, and Equinox Gender Diverse Health Centre in Victoria, Australia. Care can and should be for and by our community. With us leading at every stage. Kindred shows the healthcare models that work abroad can work here. We did this as a grassroots volunteer organisation with a shoestring budget. It was only 2 years ago that we hosted a panel in the basement of Outhouse after Trans and Intersex Pride, and community-run clinics was raised as a possibility. From that moment, we developed our vision, identified supportive clinicians, and secured grant funding to make it a reality. This is not an impossible task. It is a realistic project that our community can replicate and do for ourselves. At our current capacity, Trans Healthcare Action can't yet build the care we dream of for the whole country. Which is why we ask you, don't just march and cheer here today. Go and be radical. Push your local queer and community organisations to reignite their radical roots. Or join us in Trans Healthcare Action to set up a peer-led clinic in your area. If you want to see this happen, make it happen. Only a radical community can liberate itself.
Death to the NGS!
Death to the NGS!
Death to the NGS! Death to the NGS! I want all your signs in the air right now, and I want you to scream, death, death to the NGS!
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 Our bodies, our lives, our right to decide! Our bodies, our lives!
Our right to decide!
I said our bodies, our lives!
Our right to decide!
Our bodies, our lives!
Our right to decide!
Yeah! Finally, if I'm reading this correctly, next up from Transgress the NGS is Mike! Give it up for Mike, everyone!
Oh jeez, hello, there's a lot of people here. Which is good, I'm not complaining. I'm speaking today on behalf of Transgress the LGS, as Jenny said. And for anyone who hasn't heard of us yet, we're a grassroots group campaigning for trans healthcare. Our main aim, as the name suggests, is to end the control of trans healthcare in Ireland by the National Gender Service. It's 8 years ago now that thousands of people were on the street campaigning to repeal the 8th Amendment, and they won. There is a generalised support for bodily autonomy. The NGS is not still there because of public demand. They're there because of institutional inertia, and because they refuse to let the people affected have any effect on our healthcare. It's a fucking shame. But maybe somebody needs to tell Carl Neff he's not as popular as he thinks he is. But we're trying to send that message to tell the NGS that its days are numbered. We're now at the point where the HSE seems embarrassed to be overseeing the worst trans healthcare in the EU. And after the last report on the issue was lost down the back of a radiator in the Department of Health 6 years ago, they're now in the middle of another lengthy process to deliver a new model of care. This bureaucratic performance, if you ask me, is insulting. The World Professional Association for Transgender Healthcare has laid out guidelines for trans healthcare in line with what the community has been demanding for decades. That's accessible, GP-led healthcare which asks trans people to give informed consent, not to prove our identities to a third party. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter what I think of it, this process is continuing. As a group, we could not participate due to the involvement of NGS doctors. As many of you will have heard, they have a long history of discharging patients who criticise them, and many of our members, myself included, are on that waiting list. As a result, we have published an open letter to the Minister of Health and senior HSE figures, and we want to gather as many signatures as we can to lend weight to those demands. You should have gotten plenty of leaflets today with QR codes. Please sign the petition, share it to anybody, even if you think they're not going to sign it. The worst thing that can happen is they won't sign it. But share it as far and wide as possible. There are 4 demands in that open letter, and they're as follows. To exclude NGS staff from the process. It may well be too late in the day to expect this to happen now, but we'll have a responsibility to highlight the obvious flaws in the process and to clearly state the wishes of the community. Secondly, to ask the Minister and the HSE to commit to GP-led care on the basis of informed consent. We all know already what kind of model of care we need. We're all for consultation over the details, but there is no point leaving all options on the table when these basic principles are just non-negotiable for the trans community. Our third demand is that any new service not have religious involvement. The NGS is currently a clinic under St John of God's psychiatric services. Religious bodies have previously interfered with healthcare provision on so-called moral grounds. And as well as that, the use of Section 38 and 39 bodies, so in other words, outsourced charities, to provide healthcare, it undermines democratic oversight and has led to workers getting shafted on pay and conditions as well. We don't want to continue down this path for trans healthcare or for any other aspect of healthcare. Lastly, we urgently need interim guidance for GPs. The NGS has been sending letters to GPs advising them against providing blood tests for trans people accessing hormone treatment, either through private providers or through DIY. And the HSE has not interfered. They've left it up to the NGS. And this has meant that many trans people can't access these basic things like blood tests from their GPs. There have been people just to let people know about the open letter, we'll have well over 1,000 signatures now. We also have endorsements from Unite the Union and IFUT, the University Teachers Union, and a lot of queer community groups as well. And we want to get as many as possible before the Dáil recess is over so that we can confront the Health Minister and the HSE and that we won't be ignored. So whatever you're involved in, like your knitting circle or your tiny towns, I don't care. Like, get everybody and anybody to endorse and to sign that letter. Any service with an 18-year waiting list is a total farce, and we're not going to stand for it anymore. Join Transgress as well. Find us on Instagram. Get in touch, please. We're friendly. And enjoy the weather. Thanks very much for listening to me.
Not the church, not the state.
We alone decide our fate.
Not the church, not the state.
We alone decide our fate.
Free, free.
Palestine.
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 Yeah! Next, I'm going to read out a statement from Queer Asian Pride Ireland for today's march. Queer Asian Pride Ireland stands in unwavering solidarity with trans and intersex Pride 2026. For trans, non-binary, gender diverse and intersex migrants, refugees, people of colour and people seeking international protection, Pride has never been a celebration alone. Pride is resistance. Pride is survival. Pride is the collective refusal to accept systems that deny our dignity, our autonomy, and our humanity. 11 years after Ireland passed the Gender Recognition Act, the promise of equality remains out of reach for many. While the Act positions Ireland as a progressive country, countless trans, non-binary and intersex migrants came here only to encounter another reality. Year-long waiting lists, an overwhelmed immigration system, an escalating housing crisis, and growing racism and transphobia. Shame! Legal recognition means little when people cannot access healthcare, secure housing, renew immigration documents, or live free from fear. The ongoing failures of the National Gender Service are a political choice, not an administrative accident. Years-long waiting lists continue to deny people timely access to gender-affirming health care, despite overwhelming evidence that such care is essential to our well-being. Shame! Trans people deserve a healthcare system built on dignity, informed consent and accessibility, not endless bureaucracy and shame. At the same time, migrant communities continue to pay the price for chronic failures in Ireland's immigration system. Delays in visa processing, IRP renewals, family reunification and other immigration documentation have left thousands of people living in uncertainty. These delays prevent people from working, studying, travelling, accessing services or rebuilding their lives. For trans migrants and people seeking international protection whose safety often depends on stable immigration status and uninterrupted access to healthcare, these failures are especially harmful. They are policy failures with profound human consequences. We are equally alarmed by the growth of organised far-right activity, anti-migrant rhetoric, racism and anti-trans hate across Ireland. Shame! Online hatred is increasingly becoming violent on our streets. Asian, Black, migrant, Muslim and LGBTQ+ communities are experiencing abuse, intimidation and attacks with growing frequency. These developments cannot be dismissed as isolated incidents. They are fueled by political narratives that scapegoat migrants and trans people instead of addressing the structural failures in housing, healthcare and public services. Our communities refuse to be divided. We reject racism, transphobia, xenophobia, fascism, and every attempt to blame migrants and LGBTQ people for political failures in that house behind us. Queer Asian Pride Ireland demands immediate reform of the National Gender Service. A fair, efficient and rights-based immigration system. An end to harmful delays in visas and IRP renewals. Protection and dignity for all trans, non-binary and intersex migrants and people seeking international protection. Decisive action is needed against racism, anti-trans hate and organised far-right extremism. Fuck fascism! There can be no trans liberation without migrant justice. There can be no queer liberation without racial justice. There can be no pride without justice. Yours in solidarity and in struggle, Queer Asian Pride Ireland. Say it loud, say it clear, blame the rich, not the queer. Say it loud, say it clear.
Blame the rich, not the queer.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Blame the rich, not the queer.
Say it loud, say it clear.
Blame the rich, not the queer.
You! Do we have Maka, an intersex advocate? Please give it up for Maka!
Hello everyone. Thank
My name is Ron.
And we are proud to be here today as intersex advocates, standing together with our fellow intersex people and our trans and non-binary siblings. The intersex community is diverse, with many different variations and ways of being intersex, but our movement is led by shared demands. 1. An immediate ban on all medically unnecessary interventions on intersex infants and children. 2. Informed consent as the foundation of all medical care for intersex and trans people alike. 3. Visibility in education, law, and healthcare, because we have been left out for too long. I know all of you here today agree with me that our demand is something we all deserve. Autonomy over our bodies and our lives. Bodily autonomy for all. It might sound obvious, but it needs to be said that intersex bodies are not medical problems to be solved. Yet still, across Ireland and the world, intersex babies and children are being subjected to irreversible surgeries and medical interventions before they can speak, before they can walk, before they can consent. Shame. Shame. Children are often non-consensually put on corrective hormonal medications that are without any medical evidence supporting their use, and they can cause countless problems, such as medication-induced mental health issues or even medication-induced mental health crises, permanent physical damage to the body, like inducing the development of ovarian cysts and even infertility. Shame! Children and teenagers, and sometimes even adults, are subjected to interventions without being informed what will be done to them, and being lied to about these procedures. Intersex adults live with the mental and physical repercussions of these interventions every day of their lives, and then are often denied necessary and consensual hormonal treatments and surgeries to help correct the problems which were created by these doctors prior in life. Shame! Shame!
Receiving healthcare as an intersex person in Ireland is almost impossible. Doctors shrug their shoulders and palm you off to different consultants, none who know or care how to treat you. That is in the best case scenario, where you can access healthcare of any kind. Shame.
Shame!
Intersex people are being cut in the name of conformity. These surgeries are about control, about enforcing rigid ideas of male or female, of what bodies are supposed to look like, and punishing anyone who does not fit. Shame. Intersex and trans people are targeted by the same systems. Systems that pathologize our existence, that strip us of autonomy, that think it's acceptable to decide who we are, and that we don't have a say in the matter. Shame.
Shame!
Our struggles are linked, not because we are the same, but because those who try to erase us are the same. Hear, hear! We are both forced to justify our existence to doctors, to governments, to strangers who think that they have a right to our bodies. Shame!
Shame!
That is why we have to show solidarity with each other. not just to exist. We have to fight back. We are not your experiment, your case study, your moral panic. We are not a debate. We are a movement. To every intersex person hearing this, especially those who are struggling, you are not alone. If you are intersex or think you might be, next Saturday we are hosting a peer support group at Outhouse on Capel Street at 2 p.m. and you are very, very, very welcome. We will also be hosting an Intersex 101 for everyone who wants to learn more about intersex people and find out more about our lived experiences and what we are fighting for. And this will be to be announced. To our trans siblings, you have stood with us and we will stand with you. Thank you. And finally, to the state, end the violence, end the silence. And we want to end with a chant. When we say no more secrets, no more shame, you say intersex, say our name. No more secrets, no more shame.
Intersex, say our name.
No more secrets, no more shame.
Intersex, say our name.
No more secrets, no more shame.
Intersex, say our name.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So no more secrets, no more shame.
Intersex, say our name.
No more secrets, no more shame.
Intersex, say our name.
No more secrets, no more shame.
Intersex, say our name.
Okay, we have 2 speakers left. Just before I announce the next speaker, if you borrowed a megaphone from us and you haven't given it back, we'd really appreciate if you would give it back. We don't owe them. They were kindly donated from different organisations. So if you have one of our megaphones, please give it back. Okay. All right. So our second last speaker is Sarah Clancy, who will read out a statement from a queer and trans Palestinian. So thank you.
I'm at the age where I need glasses, so happy Trans and Intersex Pride, everyone! Woo! The best movement in Ireland at the moment and the most intersectional. I'm here to do something really important, and that's to bring you a statement from Ranin, who is one of the bravest activists you might meet. But because of the murdering, genocidal fuckers that are the IOF and how they might treat them or their family, I'm going to read this statement instead. So this is from Ranin. Any applause is for them. My name is Ranin. I'm a non-binary queer Palestinian. And for the last 4 years I've been living here in Dublin. But before I came to Ireland, I lived in Palestine, where I was a grassroots activist with Al Cause, an intersectional collective for gender and sexual diversity in Palestinian society. Al Cause has been intersectional for as long as the organisation existed. It had to be. Intersectionality was not a term we learned from liberal academic spaces or Western textbooks. It was the reality of our experience under occupation. Queer Palestinians have always, to this day, lived at the intersection of sexual and gender diversity and our struggle against a colonial apartheid state. It's not just a term, it's our struggle for survival. The live-streamed genocide unfolding in Gaza over the past 3 years, however, has shifted everything in how we conceive of this grassroots struggle. We've seen babies murdered in cold blood, pregnant mothers shot at, young men tortured, and buildings levelled to the ground, all before our very own eyes. Even in the West Bank, life is becoming unbearable. Towns are increasingly choked off by checkpoints. Settlers burn Palestinian lands with impunity. Babies are kidnapped and tortured by the Israeli occupation forces, and prisoners struggle to stay alive in Israel's unlivable prison system. There is a systematic displacement from our land every day, and the list of terror acts against Palestinians is growing every day. There is now a very clear before and after. Many young people are leaving Palestine because of these conditions. Palestinian queers leaving and seeking asylum are doing so to escape relentless colonial violence, not because their society is rejecting them. Colonial violence kills any activism, making it impossible to lay the roots for change. I recently went through the international protection system in Ireland, where for a year I lived in a state of everything being unclear, not knowing how long any process will take, living without being able to work, without being able to travel, and managing huge uncertainty. In the interview with the International Protection Office, I was asked if I was a part of a terrorist organisation, and other probing questions that were meant to interrogate me as to why I am not living in Israel, a place supposedly safe for queers. The violence of this process and the assumptions behind these questions cannot be overstated. The Palestinian queer movement has said this for decades. The Zionist colonial enterprise uses pinkwashing to sanitize its violence. They use our identities as a weapon. Western frameworks of LGBT rights and liberal identity politics are completely useless to us. In fact, they're worse than useless. They are complicit. Many global allies only care about us when we frame our work around our queer identities. And while homophobia and transphobia do not disappear in times of war, right now our Palestinianness is undergoing a liberal erasure. When an Israeli soldier points a rifle at me, they don't ask if I'm queer before they shoot. When Palestinian queers gather in our community spaces today, we are not talking about identity politics. We're talking about surviving the erasure of our people. And yet here in the West, the media opts to listen to liberal Israeli organisations and media outlets as though their input is somehow more legitimate and worth more time than the Palestinian lived experience. The hands-on analysis that is being done by Palestinians. This is why I can't stress this enough. If you care about Palestinians, listen to those on the ground. Listen to the Palestinian organisations doing the work and platform the Palestinian organisations doing the work. Yesterday's narratives of queer liberation become hollow words in the hands of an occupying state that uses the queer struggle to pinkwash crimes against humanity. The Israeli dehumanisation of Palestinians, including queer Palestinians, means that any solidarity with queer Palestinians has to include solidarity with Palestine first and foremost. Our actions must be stronger and louder. We're fighting a whole system. We must commit to the liberation of Palestine. There's no pride in genocide. No pride in genocide!
for that amazing speech. All right, so I'm the last speaker. Hello. So my name is Ollie. I'm the founder, one of the organisers from Trans and Intersex Pride Dublin. I was active in the repeal campaign, and that was one of the inspirations for actually starting Trans and Intersex Pride, was knowing that we fought so hard for abortion, and there's still so much to do with actually getting real access to abortion in Ireland. But that the repeal of the 8th Amendment was a historic win for us in Ireland. And so we wanted to start a Trans and Intersex Pride back in 2018 to say we want the same bodily autonomy, the same choice for trans and intersex people. So I won't keep you as long because I know it's a very hot day. We were chanting debt to the NGS. Did people hear that? Do we like the NGS? Wow. So the debt to the NGS chant, if people know, last year it's actually inspired by debt to the IDF. Debt to the IDF. That's the IDF! That's the IDF! That's the IDF! So that was chanted by Bob Villain in Glastonbury Festival last year. And we are saying that's the NGS because we want real trans healthcare. If you hear that's the NGS and you think that is violent, then take a look at the violent transphobic system of the NGS, of the National Gender Service that continuously denies us healthcare. If you think that chant is violent, then think about how you would feel if you were waiting 18 years to be seen, and how you would feel if every time you went to your doctor you were asked about what porn you consume, asked what dating apps you're on, asked to give a stranger intimate details about any trauma that you've gone through. And think about how pissed off you would be that this would be the only way for you to get healthcare. So we are not the violent ones here. It is the NGS, it is the doctors of the NGS, it is Paul Moran, it is Joan O'Shea, and it is, the other one, Carl Neff. They are the violent ones here. So we have a right to be angry, because the NGS has blood on their hands. When we say debt to the NGS, we mean debt to the medicalisation and pathologisation of trans people and intersex people and of our bodies. We say debt to the notion that our healthcare is niche and too complicated for GPs to understand. It is debt to the denial of bodily autonomy for trans and intersex people. Because it is debt to the NGS or debt to us all. It's marches like this one and other pride protests that I hope give everyone hope here. Trans and intersex pride has always been a political, anti-capitalist protest. politics and our commitment to real liberation, not assimilation, has not changed. What has changed is the amount of support we have gotten. And that is thanks no part to the work that everyone here has done. If you have dragged your family members, if you have dragged your friends, your workplaces, your student union, your trade union, if you dragged anyone here, you are a part of this movement, and you are a part of the movement for real liberation of us all. You are helping us get our message heard. Because trans liberation and intersex liberation is everyone's liberation. You all have a role to play here. When the far right are attacking marginalised groups like black and brown people, migrants, trans people, then anti-racism, intersex liberation and trans liberation become essential to fighting the far right and anti-fascist action. And that means, of course, that trans and intersex liberation needs to be anti-racist, to stand in solidarity with our black and brown siblings facing increased racist violence, to the pogroms happening in Belfast, to the far right, absolutely shame, to the far right filming migrants and refugees outside of IPAS centres. And of course, including the horrific killing, because it was a killing, of Eve Sakila. So we stand in full solidarity with the Justice for Eve Sakila campaign as well. Transphobia, homophobia, violence against sex workers, interphobia, racism, and especially anti-black racism is not inevitable. But they are symptoms of the capitalist system we live under. That means that trans and intersex liberation is inherently connected to all struggles for freedom and liberation. J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk, the same billionaires and $1 trillionaire that are funding the attacks on trans and intersex people are the same 1% spreading vicious, anti-migrant, racist lies. And they're the same 1% destroying our planet by shoving generative AI down our throats. They are burning the planet down because they can't be arsed to draw or write an email. Trans people and intersex people and queer people are not the reason you can't afford rent, you can't afford food, you can't afford to go to the GP, you can't afford to take time off work. It is capitalism, and it is the ultra rich, and you are blaming the wrong 1%. So, I just want to end my speech to say that, of course, the work is not over at this march. We still have so much to fight for. And yes, we have no illusions or anything like that in our government or the capitalist system. Any rights we have now had to be wrestled and torn from the establishment. And that includes the Gender Recognition Bill, marriage equality, and a repeal of the 8th Amendment. Just because we have no illusions in our current government doesn't mean that we can't fight tooth and nail for any gains we can get. And it is And it is often the most radical anti-capitalist activists who are the best fighters for any kind of rights we can have under capitalism, because again, we have no illusion that this is the end goal, that we can if we just get a few more rights from the government, then everything will be grand. It won't be. So 11 years ago, the Gender Recognition Bill was passed that allowed some, but not all, trans people to change their legal gender marker to self-determination. And at the time, that was huge, that was progressive. But we are also seeing a move to remove gender recognition in places like the US. And the disgusting, transphobic UK Supreme Court decision that excludes trans people from the Equality Act and is trying to weaken their Gender Recognition Act. Fuck Farage, yeah. Yup, count bin face. Bin for the win. Bin for the win. Bin for the win. But back to Ireland. We not only need to defend our Gender Recognition Act here, we also have to strengthen it. So, Solidarity TD Ruth Coppinger has put forward a bill for gender recognition for non-binary people and intersex people. So, this may seem like a small issue, like something so small as to being able to just change your gender marker on your passport, on your birth cert, but for loads of people this means so much more. This means dignity, this means recognition. But at a time when trans and intersex people's rights are being taken away, to have this bill passed will send a glimmer of hope to everyone, including abroad as well. It would mean dignity for trans, non-binary and intersex people. It will acknowledge that gender isn't binary and neither is sex. It would mean that parents have an option when their baby is born intersex to not have to subscribe them to male or female, that they have another option, and that we hope this would help to end the barbaric practices of non-consensual medical interventions for intersex babies and children. So watch this space, because we don't know the date yet or when it's going to be debated, but we will be organising standouts for when this bill is debated in the Dáil to show our government that actually trans, non-binary and intersex people are here to stay. We will not be ignored. And we have always existed. You can't erase us. So, again, keep an eye on trans and intersex pride social media. Once we know when the bill is going to be debated, that's when we'll be organising a standout. So, transsexuals are revolting, so join us! That's the NGS! 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 Right, just one final thing before I let you go. We are having an after party in about half an hour from 4:30 in Street 66. So please be mindful as you're leaving. Don't go by yourselves. If you need someone to walk you to a bus stop, please indicate to one of the stewards, or make sure you leave in groups. And thank you all for coming to the 7th annual Trans and Intersex Pride protest. Thank you.
Yeah, no.